Have you ever had someone say something to you, either good or bad, that really impacted the way that you showed up in life? Hey, in this episode today, we are going to uncover some simple things that we can do for all the children in our life, whether they're ours or somebody else's, to help them have a better self-image. Grab a pen and paper. I'll see you on the other side. Do you feel that your kids are growing up so fast and you don't have time to be the parent you dreamed of being? Are you sick of the heartache you feel every time you have to leave them to go earn a living? Does debt and money stress keep you from being totally present with your family? Welcome to Daily Paid Blessings, the Parenting with a Passive Income podcast. We are Melanie and Lou Borbo, small town parents with a now empty nest, and we realized too late how fast our kids grew up and how little time we actually had with them. On this podcast, we are going to show you how to buy back your time with passive daily pay so that you can strengthen the family foundation and help your kids and your grandkids become powerful change agents. If you are ready to ditch the 9-to-5 grind, make more memories, and parent with a purpose, grab your picnic lunch and a blanket and let's dig in. Oh, and by the way, if you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with other parents who also want to know how to parent on purpose. Are you frustrated that you have to work so hard for your money to find that it all runs out before the month's even over? Imagine earning a full day's income working only 2 hours a day. What kind of adventures could you go on with your family? Where could you make a difference in the lives of those around you? This is a reality for thousands inside of our community, and I'm literally talking thousands. At the time of this recording, there are 31,000 people inside of this community that are getting, seeing results and learning things and growing. So if you are ready to have a 2-hour workday, go to dailypaidblessings.com. The link is also in the show notes, and grab your free proven blueprint. You just have to enter your email. There's going to be a couple of videos for you to watch. Those videos should answer many of your questions. And if not, then we can chat after you've seen those videos, and I can help you answer any more questions that you might have. But this truly is the ticket. When you learn how to do income producing activities in only 2 hours a day, man, talk about freedom. So don't delay. The longer you wait, the more money you're not going to make and the more time you're going to waste. So head on over to dailypaidblessings.com and grab your blueprint today. See you on the other side, my friend. Hey friend, welcome back. So today we are going to talk about, I have a story that may cause a little bit of discomfort in some of you. And the only reason that I'm going to share it is because I believe that there's a better way to handle our kids. I don't mean to be, to judge this lady that I'm going to tell a story about, but I'm just using her as an example that we actually truly can impact our kids. So just not very long ago, we were in a store, and as I was walking in there, I saw this woman, and all of a sudden she grabbed the back of her daughter's arm. Her daughter was probably about 9 or 10. So old enough to know and old enough to be seriously embarrassed. And I saw this mother grab her and pinch the back of her arm really hard. And then she just started swearing and cussing over this girl. This is a public place in the store. Like there's a bunch of people standing around, and I was embarrassed for the child myself because I thought, oh my goodness, I would never want someone to speak to me like that. Yeah. And right, you would agree, honey?
That would be traumatic.
It would be. Like, how embarrassing is that? You're like I don't know what happened prior to, but regardless of what happened with that child before they came into the store, that should not have happened anywhere, but especially in a public place.
That's right.
So then I continued about my shopping, we were in a grocery store, so obviously I'm running into these people a few times. And the thing that kind of struck me is because that little girl, when her mother or whoever that woman was speaking over her like that and swearing that way and pinching her like that, that little girl she basically just was glaring like hatred towards her mother. I don't know if the mother saw it or not, or cared to see it. I don't know, because whatever. But then I'm watching this same little girl all of a sudden she sees a friend of hers, a couple, sections over in the grocery store.
Right.
She goes running to her with her arms wide open, grabs her, hugs her. And I thought, this is a problem, because that girl didn't want to have anything to do with her mom from the look on her face that I saw in that brief moment. But then I watched something completely different with her friend. And then we wonder why our kids want to be with their friends more than they want to be with their parents.
Yep.
Do you think that's a problem?
Yeah, I agree. It's you're attracted to someone who treats you with respect and love. And
Absolutely. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is how can we as parents, because I get it. I totally get it. As a parent, I mean, like we've said in other podcasts, our kids are growing now, and we were not perfect parents. We didn't have these kinds of things in a lot of cases to know the right thing. I mean, even still, I don't believe I ever swore, because I didn't swear much to my kid. I don't think I ever swore to my kids actually, but I guess what I want to do is I want this podcast episode to really instill in all of us that we all have the power to cause the children in our lives, whether they're ours or someone else's, to have a better self-image, right? We have that power to help them have a good self-image.
So very important.
It is. And the first thing that we're going to talk about, actually, in the greatest success book ever written, which is the Bible, it is my favorite book in the whole world. And there's so much wisdom in this book about how to raise kids, how to be a good spouse, how to do business properly, just how to live. This is not just a book for people that, only want to go to church. This book is about people who want to live a healthy, fulfilling life. And so I want to share something with you. So Proverbs 18:21 says, and I'm reading this right out of the Bible, it says, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof." That's pretty powerful, hey, honey?
Absolutely. I remember times in my life where that very situation either lifted me up or pushed me down in a hole that I didn't want to crawl out of.
Absolutely. Words have such a lasting impression on us, don't they?
They sure do.
Like, when I think back, and I'm sure we could tell you story after story, but like when I think back on either when it happened to me, when someone spoke something negative or positive over me, or when I did it to someone else. I'll give you two quick examples. One of them, when I was just a young girl and I was in school, this wasn't even my mom, but a teacher that I had, she was, whatever, for her own issues, she had her own issues. So she was quite hostile to a lot of students. She would throw things and scream and yell a lot. But anyway, I remember one time she looked me in the eye and she told me, "You should never, ever sing." We were in music class. I was probably like 8, 7, 10, I don't know. No, I wouldn't have been 10 yet. I probably would have been like 7, 8, 9 years old.
Wow.
And she looked me in the eye and she said, "You should never, ever sing. You're a terrible singer." Well, what do you think that did for me?
Terrible.
For so many years of my life, I would not sing out loud because I thought, no, I can't. She told me that I'm a really bad singer. And it wasn't until I started going to the church that we go to now that I started to sing. And I thought, you know what? I like singing. I might not be the perfect singer in the world, but I shouldn't not sing just because of her opinion.
That's right.
Have you ever had an experience where someone spoke something bad over you?
Well, you mentioned earlier that a mother can be that person to speak ill words over a child. Mm-hmm. And to give my mom some credit, I was not a great student, and I enjoyed spending time outside with my friends. And I would leave my homework till the last minute, late at night, to get it done. And my mother was running out of patience by that time with 8 kids in the house, and it's late at night. And I was getting tired and not thinking so well. But I remember her having this grimace on her face and knocking on my head with her knuckles lightly, saying, "Come on, figure this out." Right? And that resonated with me, obviously, till today. where this can be a very traumatic experience for children.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I suppose you probably would have, anytime you were trying to learn something, anytime you were trying to maybe figure something out, that would come to you like, man, I just can't get it. Like, and there'd be that frustration because you would have got that frustration from her.
Yes.
Absolutely. I totally get that.
Forward.
Yeah. And I remember one time it broke my heart so much. My son was having a bad day, being whatever, doing whatever. And same sort of story. I remember I was really stressed about money at that time because I was a single mom then. And I was really, really stressed. I'm thinking, I don't know how, like, how am I going to put food on the table for these kids? And he was doing something and it caught me the wrong way. And I looked at him and I said, stop being such a jerk. And his poor little face I just crushed him. Wow. And I immediately apologized, but I'm thinking, man, what if that word stuck with him?
The damage was done.
Yeah, the damage was already done, right? Because I didn't manage my own thoughts. I should have my own emotions. Absolutely. Yeah. So we can speak so rashly, so quickly and not think about it, but it can do a lifetime of damage.
That's right.
That's right. So when we say this, that death and life are in the power of the tongue. So now we've heard stories of, bad things happening, and there's also, but when we speak life over our situation, when we speak life over our kids, over the kids that we come in contact with, over our spouse, over our health, when we speak life, meaning we're not talking about how bad something is. We're looking for the thing that we're grateful for. We're looking for the beauty in it. When we speak that stuff out loud, our kids hear it, and we're either speaking it over them or they hear us speaking it about someone else. That is going to drastically change them, isn't it?
It's very important for them to learn those lessons about how to treat others as well as how to receive compliments.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point, honey. That is a good point.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just as important to learn how to receive something good as it is to speak something good.
Like the Bible says, it's better to give than to receive. You get more blessings by giving than receiving.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Okay, so that's the first one that we can do, is to start to watch what we say. Speak life, not death, over everything. So that's number one. Number two is, do you realize that our children, especially, but even other people in our lives, will glean their self-image from what we say and how we show them, how we show up for them? So even things like the way that we take care of ourselves, the way that we, do things, what we listen to, what we watch, our kids are watching that stuff, right? And like I learned about parenting, some parenting stuff from a business mentor that I went to many, many years ago. And she talked about how her parents were drug addicts, and they beat her sister, like they were terrible. And so she watched this stuff happen in her home, and she was just like, oh my goodness, like, do I follow them? Do I do what they do? Because that is what she knew. But then she met she started in business as well, and she started to learn from other people, learn from personal development stuff, right?
Better role models.
Better role models, absolutely, honey. And then she realized, no, I don't have to do what they did. I get to make a different choice, right? And so that's one thing that I think is really important, is what are we showing our kids by our actions? Are we all we do is sit in front of the TV all day and watch garbage and swear and cuss? Then we wonder why our kids are doing what they're doing, right?
Right.
If we show them a different way, they're going to probably follow a different way, or at least know that there is another option, right?
Correct.
So one thing that I wanted to, and this is, as Lou and I are stepping out into business, and, Lou's now retired from carpentry, kind of not by choice, but by necessity. And he's having to learn a whole new set of skills, right? In order to make an income.
Yes, I am.
And it's been a little bit challenging for you, hasn't it?
You could say that, yes.
However, you know, we've talked about personal development a little bit. When you start to look at the ways to build a successful business, has personal development come into play in this at all for you yet?
Yeah, for sure it has. I I look at myself every day and see where I need to grow as far as expressing my inner thoughts and my wants, my needs, and convey that in a heartfelt way to my audience.
Mm-hmm. So now think about if our audience was our kids, right? If as we grow in personal development for a business, we now are showing our kids another side, aren't we?
Yeah.
And I remember when I had just mentioned this, but when I went to this business conference and she was talking about, you know, and it wasn't just about, okay, you're going to do this kind of marketing and this kind of marketing. It was like, who do you have to become? Who do you have to become in order to, you know, to be successful? And as I was watching and she kept talking about all the things, like how we honor people, how we should respect people, how we should listen to people, like all these things. And I'm sitting there thinking, man, this is stuff that I want to teach my kids, right? Like I want to teach my kids. And at that time, my kids were just young teenagers, or not even. Some of them were, you know, it was still when they were 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 kind of deal. But I brought that stuff home from those conferences that I would go to, and I would start to apply it with my kids. And man, what a world of difference. Just in the way that they would, you know, respond or respect each other, right? It was beautiful. So
such a blessing.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So even now, today, you can start to improve your listening skills, your the way that you speak, the way that you show up, and that a lot of times that happens for people that go into business, that become entrepreneurs. That just is a natural part of becoming an entrepreneur. Is that
the proper mindset?
Yes, the proper mindset. And with that comes all these other things, and it plays out in all these different ways. So again, what we do and how we show up helps our kids decipher who they are and how they should show up.
Right.
Yes. So that's number 2. So is get yourself some personal development. And if that means starting a business, I mean, that is a great way to do it, because it's almost always built in. I've never been in any kind of business training or anything like that doesn't have some level of improving as a human, right?
Yeah, you have to be challenged in your thought patterns.
That's right. The way you spend your time, right? Like all these things. And all of that stuff is stuff that we get to then impart into our children. Or, like I say, other kids who we spend time with, right?
Exactly.
The third one that I have on here, the third thing that we can do to help our kids have a better self-image is acceptance and identity. Okay, so now I want to talk about this in a couple different ways. So acceptance and identity. There is an identity that we've been given from birth, from Jesus. And you know what? And you may not be a Christian, and that's okay. But when I came to know that Jesus loves me and accepts me just the way that I am, like truly unconditionally loves me, that absolutely changed my identity. Because no longer was I concerned about what other people thought of me, or does my hair look the way that everyone else's looks? Do I have the exact same clothing that everyone else does? That stuff became not important to me anymore. All of a sudden it was like, wait a minute, I was created uniquely, wonderfully, uniquely made. The Bible says that, right? And I don't have to be like everyone else, because God didn't make me to be like everyone else. So there's a huge level of this identity, especially in young teens and you know, young adults. There is this thing that we have to find out who we are. So I'm here to say that if you could let your children know that they are loved by God, they are honored and respected by God.
Loved unconditionally.
And loved unconditionally. And that He has the best identity for them. If you could if you could share that with your kids, and the best way to share that with your kids is for you too to know that that is for you too, right? Whether you know Jesus or you don't know Jesus, I just want you to know that he loves you and he accepts you just the way that you are. And that changes things. And then that's what you can share with your kids. What about you, honey? What was your story when you first came to know the Lord? Did it change your identity? Did it change your level of acceptance?
Well, I think right from a young adult, I often did things against the norm. Mm-hmm. I walked according to the beat of my own drum in a lot of cases. Sometimes I followed the masses, but most of the time I had my own identity, and I learned more about myself as I grew up.
Mm-hmm. Which is normal, I think, right? Like a lot of kids do learn as they grow, they mature, and they step into their own. But the problem that I'm seeing, and I'm sure all of you are seeing, is that these young people today, their identity is so far from themselves. It's so caught up in who the world says they are,
the media,
and that's how they get lost. They get stuck in this. Well, that's not good enough, and I don't have enough, likes on that thing, and I don't have enough friends calling me, and so I must be useless. My life is worthless, right?
I don't look good enough.
Absolutely.
I don't play the sport well enough.
Yes, absolutely. And I just have a real passion for helping kids, well, anyone, but is to know that, you know what, we've all been given gifts and talents, right? We've all been given specific gifts and talents. It doesn't mean, like, someone might be really good. Like, I'll just give you an example. There's some women in our church that are amazing cooks, and their gifting is to like show hospitality and to entertain, and they can just do this up in a big way. And I've never felt that I have that skill. I eat to live. I don't live to eat, right? So for me, I'm quite content with simple food. I don't need tons and tons of different stuff. So then when I first started going to this church, I thought, oh my goodness, I should be more like them. I should try to be more like them. But it stressed me out so bad. It just stressed me out to try and compete with that, because I don't feel like that's my gifting. You give me people, if I'm to speak in front of someone, I mean, that's my gifting, that's my talent. But to try and do and fit in to something that is not where I'm really good at, doesn't mean I shouldn't try to improve. Absolutely.
That's right.
But I can't beat myself up over the fact that I wasn't built the same as some of these other women, right?
No, we're all created differently.
Absolutely. We're all created differently. And that is a passion of mine to really share with the world, is that you don't have to be like everyone else. You have to be the best that you can be. And keep improving. Absolutely. I believe 100% in personal development, and keep improving, keep learning new things, keep having new goals, all of those things, but to not necessarily be identified by any of them.
That's right. No, we will continue to learn for the rest of our lives, but we also have to be comfortable with who we are, mm-hmm. and how we've been made or created.
Absolutely. So in closing, I just wanted to remind you that to speak life over your kids, to speak life over yourself, because it's not going to do your kids any good if you're telling them they're wonderful, but telling yourself or speaking horrible things about yourself or your spouse. So number one is to really speak life. Really, really work on speaking life. Number two is personal development. Grow, improve, learn new skills, all of these things that you can then impart into your children. And number three is to teach them who they are, that they have a beautiful plan and a purpose. They were created for something so beautiful and so unique. And that once they step into that, they don't have to be like everyone else. And it's okay if they don't have the same skills as someone else. And we shouldn't beat them up either if they don't, excel at a certain thing, what we think they should excel at.
If they don't fit the mold.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. So I really pray that this blesses you today, and that you can start to see yourself becoming that parent that is raising up leaders inside your home. Because you know what scares me a little bit is that the next generation, pardon me, this next generation coming up, they're going to be the ones taking care of us. They're going to be the leaders. They're going to be the people that are looking out for us when we are old and sick. And if we have not trained them and raised them up in such a way to be, to be kind, to be gentle, to be servants, to be leaders, what's going to happen?
We have to play a much bigger part in our kids' lives.
I think so too. And even if our kids are growing, which Lou and I, our kids are gone from home, we don't have the same kind of influence over them anymore, but we still do. Because in our conversations, in the way that they still watch us, they are still watching us to see what we're doing, to see how we're doing it. And so it's still important, even if they're not living in your home. So if you're grandparents or if you're aunt or uncles, or if you've got kids that you just deal with, right? It's important for us as adults to step up and raise up this next generation for success.
Absolutely.
So yeah, if you want to know more about how you can start your own business, we would love to help you with that. We do have an amazing program that is just helping people to have more time, more money, and there's this whole element of becoming better inside of it as well. So we'd be happy to help you with any of that. But for now, take care and God bless.
God bless.
We'll see you next week. Have you been blessed by this episode? Has it touched you or inspired you or taught you something? If so, would you take 30 seconds, and write a written review? Not only does it warm our heart to hear from you, but it also lets us know that we're giving you what you need. And it also helps other people find the podcast that may need this kind of information as well. And remember, beloved, I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers. Take care, my friend, and God bless.